the third gate, the gate of life. Now he'll attack. Oh no, not yet.
What?
Incredible. No one could do that through sheer effort alone. The boy's truly a genius.
You hear that, Tenten? There's a new genius in town, and Kakashi's statement carries much more weight than yours. Fuck you. Rock Lee supremacy, baby. A few of you may have missed this, so I'll point it out. After Lee had his Ultra Instinct moment, you can actually see him dashing towards Gaara right before the debris gets kicked up. I'll play it back to see if you can catch it this time.
He's faster than ever.
I don't mean to be that guy, but hear me out. I don't think 4th grade Lee is faster than Kakashi, but I don't think he's too far off Kakashi's base speed. Just look at Kakashi's face. His eyes are widened and there's a sweat drop here. You could argue he's just surprised by how fast Lee is, but I think it's deeper than that.
Huh?
Whoa!
Gaara!
Where'd they go?
Huh? Up there!
It takes a big-brained individual such as myself to notice something like this, so I'll point it out. Other than the massive increase in terrain destruction, it only took one swift kick from Lee to send Gaara flying into the air this time, whereas 1st grade Lee had to kick Gaara multiple times. I've seen people scoffing at the idea of Gaara running low on chakra, and I think it's because they missed this detail. People just assume because Gaara doesn't Cherokee that he can't possibly run out of chakra. What, OAN? Are you seriously suggesting Gaara's out of chakra? Did you even watch the rest of the episode? Yes, I know. Gaara didn't run out of chakra because he was able to launch his final attack against Lee and regenerate his sand armor. Using his sand armor isn't easy for Gaara to do though.
That armor is one big weak spot. Unlike the sand shield, the armor can be broken. And then there's the enormous amount of chakra that Gaara has to use to keep it in place. That takes its toll.
So it's not like Gaara can keep it up forever. He couldn't even regenerate his armor fast enough to keep up with Lee's attacks. I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought that Lee was flying when first seeing him ping-pong Gaara like this. I know they show him jumping off the walls a few moments later, but the animation definitely didn't imply that.
Is that really Lee? But when? How?
Alright, it's about that time. Do you guys think Neji's capable of perceiving Lee's movements here? Personally, I think he's fully capable of tracking Lee's movements. It isn't until Lee opens the 5th gate and uses Hidden Lotus that guy says this.
The Hidden Lotus, a taijutsu combination of such blinding speed that no one can defend himself against it. Not even Neji.
Considering the Hidden Lotus was Lee's ace against Neji, and Guy stating the Hidden Lotus is the only thing Neji can't possibly defend against means Neji wouldn't get obliterated against 4th grade Lee like Gaara did. I know Lee's a bit preoccupied right now, but now would be the time to at least try using anything left in his toolkit instead of phasing it into the comedy dimension.
Sand coffin.
I like how you can tell a guy is about to interfere before he does so. Even though Hayate is supposed to call the match to prevent unnecessary loss of life, he clearly dropped the ball here, and Guy recognized that. Which actually makes Guy leaping onto the battlefield to protect Lee all the more satisfying. Seeing Guy slap away that tidal wave of sand effortlessly, followed by staring Gaara down, put the cherry on top of this fight. By the look on Guy's face, you can tell he's ready to put Gaara in his place if he has to. I'm sure nobody was surprised by Guy interfering with Lee's match, but if you were, you shouldn't have been. Later on, Guy tells Gaara the reason why he saved Lee is because he's his student and he's precious to him. From the first time we were introduced to Guy, it was obvious that he and Lee's bond was stronger than your average student-teacher relationship. Imagine you're a father sitting in the stands watching your son's life flash before your eyes. You wouldn't care about any rules or regulations you were breaking. Heck, when I was in high school participating in an away game for basketball, I almost got into a fight with a kid on the other team. My dad was relatively high up in the bleachers at the start of my scuffle, and a few seconds later, he was on the sideline. I'm not going to dive too deep into Gaara's backstory since there will be a better time in the future. However, this is the first time we get to see Gaara's family. I don't believe they even disclosed Kankurō and Temari being his siblings at this point, but that's all made clear from this shot. We don't know exactly what happened in Gaara's past, but we can tell from Gaara's face and his emo eyeliner that even as a toddler he had loads of
Emotional, damn it!
Temari and Kankurō very clearly hate him. The way Kankurō is slightly in front of Temari makes it look like he's protecting his sister from an external threat. Temari also has her hands up in front of her, which is a telltale sign someone is trying to create a barrier between themselves and someone else. Gaara's mother is the only one who looks happy to see him, so it makes you wonder exactly what happened to make Gaara's father look at him like this. Gaara's memory is shattering and breaking just like his armor is symbolic to me. When you're a child, the only real thing you have is family. However, similar to his armor, his family bonds broke, but unlike his armor, he can't just regenerate them using chakra, ultimately leaving him with nothing and the realization that
I need love.
He's precious to him? A student?
That's a sentiment that Gaara couldn't even begin to understand.
Hell, Temari couldn't even begin to understand it. I know Gaara had it worse, but Temari's childhood wasn't sunshine and rainbows either. Why was Guy surprised by Gaara walking away? Did Guy seriously expect Gaara to fight him? Because it looks like Guy expected Gaara to fight him. I feel like Neji's characterization is off in this scene as well. What happened to all of his Super Saiyan swagger? I know this scene was a big move for Guy, but Lee almost died and Neji did absolutely nothing. Having Neji leap down to defend Lee alongside Guy would have made the scene hit even harder.
The winner is...
It can't be. No, Lee. It's all right. It's all over now. Anyway, you're in no condition to... Lee. Oh, Lee. What have I done?
This fucking hurt. Screw you, Kishimoto. Guy's range of emotion really adds to the gravity of this scene. He goes from calm, to denial, to acceptance, then regret. Even though he only ever had Lee's best interest at heart, he's undoubtedly replaying Kakashi scolding him while holding on to near-death Lee.
Lee. You've already proven it.
I agree with Guy. Lee's already proven himself. He didn't win, but it isn't all about winning. He subverted everyone's expectations by slapping Gaara around as hard as he did. It's a shame Lee doesn't really get a chance to shine after this. He has a little moment against Kimimaro, but other than that, he's a non-factor. You can really tell deep down Gaara wishes things were different. He literally stopped walking away after rage quitting the exams to stand and stare at Guy giving Lee affection. Gaara's grunt can be misinterpreted as disgust, but it's actually resentment. Gaara's family never gave him the type of love and validation Guy gives to Lee, and those two aren't even related.
Lee!
Sakura. There is nothing you can do for him right now.
Yeah, Sakura, you freaking loser. Imagine not being the world's best healer. Sakura's useless. Am I right, guys? I don't know if this is intentional or not, but Lee's arm is bent in the wrong direction. His other arm kinda is as well. But if it is intentional, that's pretty good attention to detail.
Still, it was a lot tougher match than we thought.
Props to Kankurō for giving Lee the props he deserves, although for some reason, he can't seem to open both his eyes at once. Looking back at this, I never realized how down bad Gaara was after he and Lee's fight. He literally stops walking to stare down Naruto, since he likely assumed Naruto was going to confront him, but instead, Naruto ran right past him without saying a word and ran straight to Lee, leaving Gaara in the dust. If you think Guy and Naruto had no impact on Gaara's mental, then you're dead wrong. This is the second time Gaara stopped walking away to observe the guy he deemed a failure receive better treatment than he ever has.
There are bone fractures and muscle tears throughout his body. He's facing a long and difficult rehabilitation.
At first, I thought Guy was shocked that Lee was injured, but considering Guy is the one who taught Lee the gates and literally just watched the whole fight unfold, that didn't make any sense. After some more thought, I think Guy was shocked that those were the only problems Lee would have to face. However, after the doctor continues to tell Guy the rest of the bad news, his mouth closes and his right eyebrow starts twitching, signifying he's bracing himself for the worst.
I'm sorry, I know how much it means to you both. But he'll never fight again. His days as a shinobi are over.
There's nothing wrong with Guy and Naruto's reactions, except in the very next scene, Naruto's should-be surprised face is replaced with his curious face from before. This is what he should have looked like.
He's wrong. He's wrong. It can't be true.
Not sure how many of you guys pieced this together, but dilating pupils and hyperventilating are common symptoms of anxiety, which is exactly what Naruto is going through right now. But it isn't just Naruto. Guy is going through the exact same thing. Not to take away from this scene, but this is the third time Guy has flashed back to this scene during this fight. Surely there's other memory Kishimoto could show, right?
Wrong. It was all my fault. I should have stopped it. Oh, forgive me.
I like that Guy takes full responsibility for what happened to Lee. Gaara deemed Lee the failure, but in Guy's eyes, he's the true failure, which is an understandable position to take. Guy spent years training Lee physically and philosophically. Lee blindly believed in everything Guy taught him, which resulted in Lee's whole career meeting a swift end.
It's not true. It can't be true. He's easy for you to say it's over. What about Bushy Brow? What's he supposed to do now?
This is the energy that I expect from Naruto. Between Gaia's controlled breakdown and Naruto's uncontrolled breakdown, this was a perfect send-off for Lee. I personally would have rather Lee remained injured. Maybe not for the rest of the story, just for the rest of the series. Lee being treated over time by Tsunade while training in the background would have made it for a great reveal during Shippuden. Again, maybe it's just me, but I would have loved to see Lee make a surprise appearance during the Pain Invasion arc. Oh yeah, back to the original scene I was talking about.
I thought you were gonna show how a failure can... It was all a lie, wasn't it?
This voice line in particular stood out to me. The reason for that is that's the exact same passion in Naruto's voice that we first heard in episode 19, The Demon in the Snow.
Why you ungrateful. After everything he did for you, Haku lived for you!
Naruto's outburst during the Chunin Exams was definitely inspired by the Demon in the Snow. In episode 19, Kakashi is the stoic leader that tries to keep Naruto's emotions in check. The same thing happens in this episode.
But Sensei, it isn't fair! All he ever wanted was to prove himself against Sasuke and Neji!
And maybe that's what led to his downfall. He was so fixated on that goal that he sacrificed his body, his future, to attain it.
Kakashi's right. This is exactly what I was saying in my last video. Once you become fixated on something, it can turn into a slippery slope. Eventually, nothing else matters and you'll sacrifice everything just for a chance to caress your dream, even if it's only for a moment.
Lee, you didn't understand, even at the end. Fate will never smile on the fortunes of a ninja who seeks victory by falling on his own sword, or demanding that others fall on theirs.
Bring that ass back here, Neji. I already debunked you. You're too inconsistent to make that statement. I know Gaara is partly thinking about killing Lee right now, but he still waited to see Lee off before returning to the stands. Speaking of which, look at Gaara's face. That's not his usual look. He genuinely looks like he's in deep thought right now, especially from this angle. Gaara doesn't look angry or bothered at all right now. He actually looks kinda sad. Temari and Baki didn't notice that though, because screw Gaara's emotions. Am I right, guys? Kakashi is the real MVP of this episode. There's much more to his character than being a powerhouse. First, he catered to Naruto's emotions since he's young and needs the most help navigating the life of a shinobi. He then goes to make sure his best friend is doing alright, despite him being a grown man. Kakashi did the same thing back in season 1 after Naruto and Inari had an argument. When we were first introduced to Kakashi, he came off as a laid-back guy who didn't really care about anything. I mean, he literally says this.
I'm Kakashi Hatake. Things I like and things I hate. I don't feel like telling you that.
Huh?
My dreams for the future. Never really thought about it. As for my hobbies, I have lots of hobbies.
So seeing him go from that, to this, makes Kakashi's character progression really satisfying. We have made it. Episode 50 is down and in the playlist. I truly do appreciate all the support the channel has been receiving so far. As you all know, the grind never stops. I'm gonna keep going until I become Hokage someday. If you want to help me become Hokage, be sure to like the video on your way out if you haven't already. With that said, I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Deuces.
Ninja art and the video Dosu.